Let me just pull out. We're going to do our side 15, our accordion page first. I'll just get all my little bits together. I can take my little sticky notes off. These are so handy, these little sticky notes. Now, I've got my back page here, which is what's going to be fitted onto our base page. And now, because the paper range that I'm using didn't have any 4x6 cards, I've had to take a 3x4 card, and as you can see, I've mounted it onto black, and then I'm going to mount it onto this lovely colour here that will go on the front of our accordion. So I'm just going to pop this, I'm just going to clip this and pop this to one side. We'll just clip that together. And then we've got our little seat belt bits. Now, I've not actually cut out the papers. Oh, actually, I'm going to take the cardie off. Getting a bit warm already. I haven't cut out the papers for this yet. I will get round to doing that, but we'll get the base pages done. And then we've got our other little bits here. Now, these are, I've called these are accordion pages. So at least we've got these, and we can sort of work our way through for that. Okay, these are the 9x6. I should have 3. I'm double checking. So I'm going to score them up, and got my lovely scoreboard. Please do, when you're joining, give us a hi. That would be lovely. Now this one is 9" by 4 1/4 inch. Sorry, 9" by 6 1/4. Do you know, I've got my glasses on and I'm still reading it wrong. And we're going to score on the 9" side. Okay, we're going to score at 4 1/4 inches and 8 1/2. Now, actually, I've just realised that my board is not big enough. Let me just grab my other one. Oh, goodness me.
Could you try again?
No, I can't. It's Siri. Siri's trying to butt in on our conversation. Anybody else have that problem? Right, let's get the big scoreboard out. So yeah, so 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. So I'm just going to come in and run that down like so. And we need to do this on all 3 sheets. So that's 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. That leaves us this little flap bit here, which is what we're going to be joining our pages together. And let's do this one, 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. Whoops, nearly went in the wrong one then, Deb. Right, okay. And while we've got this here, I'll get my little seat belts out. So the seat belt parts are come in 2 pieces, and we've got to score on the 3 1/2 inch side, and we're scoring 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch, because this will give us a little bit of a gusset like so, so that it will wrap over all the accordion pages and all the papers and photos, etc, etc. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So we'll just get that done. So it's 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch, and we're just going to fold and fold on that one. So they're ready to go on. Okay, I'm just going to pop this scoreboard out the way. Now, we can do this one of 2 ways. We can either join these all together now. Okay, so you have them all in one row. Or what we're going to do is we'll deal with one page first, and then we'll add the other 2 pages. It just makes it a little bit easier to handle. But if you wanted to, you could sort of join them all together. So I'm just going to pop those, fold that on the bubble for that one. Where's my little Bernie? There's Bernie. You'll notice no plaster on my finger tonight. My finger's healing up nicely after I took on a rose bush. So I like to tell everybody I was dancing on tables, but unfortunately not. It sounds better when I tell people that I did that on a table. Right, okay. So our base paper, our 7x7, our patterned paper. Okay, what we need to do is we need to draw on the opposite. You can see actually I've used every bit of this summer porch paper, okay, because that was the front bit. But what I love about 49er Market is they use every side, so they've printed on that side, and that's what I'm using. Okay, and what we need to do is I'm just going to draw these in red. We need to mark 3/8 of an inch from the bottom and the top. So this is like opposite sides. Now, because my paper is not really directional per se, I mean, I know it's got that little bit, but I'm not overly worried which way that goes. I'm just going to do that. But obviously, if you've got directional paper that you're going to be using, then you need to make sure that you've got that on there. So I'm just drawing that red line, so hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to come in. I haven't gone right to the end because I don't need to. And we're just going to crack on and do this side like so. So there are my two 3/8 of an inch lines drawn at the top and the bottom, and then the left and the right hand side we're coming in at 1 3/8 of an inch. So let's just, and I'm measuring this up against the edge, so that's 1 inch and 1 2 3, and just double checking. So we end up getting a rectangle, okay, and I'm going to do the same on this side. 1 3/8. It's just, whoops, measure twice. Here we go, and we're just going to do that. All right, so now that I've got that on there, what's going to happen is that on one of these sides we're going to cut right the way through, because we're going to tuck in this folded bit here, our little fold bit. Let's just fold that bit of our accordion page, so that it will, when we've got it round on the right side, it will tuck in, and then you don't get to see that bit, okay, and then the rest of the accordion will go onto the page. All right, and we're also going to add in our little seat belts into those slots as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure. Now this is roughly 6 and a quarter, so half of, so I'm just going to do a line there, 3 1/8, and I'm just going to do that on the opposite side as well. So lining up those red lines, 3 1/8, like so. And the idea is that our little seat belt, now the seat belt measures 1 3/4 of an inch, which means that to get that 1 3/4, I do believe that is 7/8 to come either side of that red line. So I'm just marking that on 1 3/4. Get it right, Deb, that's the one. There we are. So when I come to cut that, that should hopefully just slot into that gap like so. This is my way of doing it. You might find another easy way of doing this, but I don't know, sometimes I think I can be a little bit cack-handed at doing these things. I suppose I could have measured from the top and from the bottom, but there we go. All right, so I've got one side here. These are the measurements then to slot in one of my seat belts, and then on this side I'm going to cut my slot for it to go in. But it depends which way you want to tuck, or you want your accordion page to go. All right, so it depends whether you want it to sort of come out that way or whether you want it to go out the other way. Depends on which side you stick it in. At the end of the day though, it really doesn't matter. All right, you can do one or the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that back over, and I'm going to cut. So I've got the long side coming out of here. So now I've got my drawn lines on there, I can take my lovely ruler and my knife, and I'm going to cut from where those two lines crossed at the top and where they meet at the bottom. Okay, so when I turn that over, you can now see I've got that slot in there, which means that this will, let's fold that back, there we go, which means that this will now slot in just, hopefully, just nicely. I might need to open it up just a fraction more. Just take that down just a fraction. Here we go. Just to take that, so it just tucks in just nicely. Because I think it looks really nice on the page to have it hidden, as it were, inside. Whoops, turn it round. Yes, it's going that way. Turn it round so you can see it. So that just tucks in just nicely like so. Okay. So that when you open the page, you don't get to see where that is. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you could just stick it straight on if you really wanted, but I quite like the fact that it just sort of finishes off that little bit there. Okay. And I'm also going to need to tuck in the little seat belt that's going to go in, and it will only go up to where that 1/2 inch score line is, and that too will tuck in on there as well. So we'll have the two bits going in together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my other side, the opposite side, just to make sure. So between those two lines, where's my lovely ruler? Right, my knife. Okay, I'm just going to cut down. I'm just going to make sure that the seat belt tucks in on this side. Just make sure that they all tuck in before we glue it all down together, and that's quite a nice snug fit in there as well. So that goes round just nicely on there. Okay, so I think what we'll do, we'll put these in. Hi Beryl, nice of you to join us. Right, I'm going to add my red liner tape. Now, because I'm tucking this in on this side, I need to put my red liner tape on there. So I'm just going to do that. And we're just going to pop that on. There we go. And get my scissors. Let's just move these bits out of the way. I'm going to snip that off like so. I'm also going to add on the inside the little red liner tape there as well, and those little tab bits. So we're just putting the red liner tape just on that score bit of the 1/2 inch like so. Okay, so there's a 1/2 inch, so we've still got that 3/4 of an inch that's going to fold round. All right, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on this one. Now, before I attach these, it's easier to corner around these now rather than later. So where did I put my little corner rounder? Here we are. So I'm just going to use the small one on here, and I'm just going to corner around these. Here we go. And just going to pop in, and we're just going to do that one. Okay, I'm loving my little box set here. It's really nifty. I try to be organised, you know. Doesn't always happen, but I do try. Now what I'm going to do is, because that is going to tuck inside, I'm actually going to join one of these onto here, so that that's already fitted. Okay, so I'm just going to re-measure that. So that was 1.5 inches. That is 6 and 7. So again, I'm just going to mark down, so the 6 on 1, and then it was 1.5 inches, 7/8 of an inch either side. It's just roughly so I can sort of try and make sure that I get this one attached before I stick that all in. Okay, so that's just going to sort of snugly fit on there. So we're going to peel this one off. There we go. Oops, got red line tape sticking to me as usual. And it's important to make sure that your score line for your 1/2 inch is going to line up with that score line that we've got down here. Okay, so I'm just going to, okay, so now that that is attached, so that when that's in the pocket, that's going to be absolutely fine. Okay, and I can see that that's going to come over and it's going to be perfect on there. All right, so now we're going to attach this one onto here. So I'm just going to take off the red liner tape. Going to add a little bit of wiggle glue, as I call it. It's not really called wiggle glue, but it's what I call it. It just allows us to have that little bit of a wiggle if we need it, especially because we're tucking this inside. And I'm just going to open that up a little bit. I'm going to tuck that in at the top. And I'm going to bring that one in. And before I let that drop down, I'm just going to make sure that that is evenly spaced. And there we are. And we've got that in. Perfect. Tuck in this little one on the other side where we put the other cut. So again, just going to add a little bit of glue. Let's put that red liner tape out of the way. Sticks to everything. Right, and again I'm just going to take this up to that 1/2 inch score line. All right, so now I'll just, it's a little bit fiddly, but I can push that open, get my nail in under there, tuck that in up to that score line. That's it, and fix that down. And hopefully, oh, look at that. I mean, that is pretty good going. They are fairly level. Perfect. Okay. Now, what we need to do is attach this now to our page. Okay. Now, for this is the top and it's side 15. Now, it's up to you at this point. You could have the accordion opening that way, or if you wanted, you could turn it around and have it coming forward. It really doesn't matter. Okay, it's just another option. Obviously I'm going this way because I've selected the card that is going on the front and it's facing that way. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, because this is going to hold a little bit of weight, I am going to run some red liner tape around this because I want to make sure that it's going to hold all the weight of the cards and the photos, etc. So I'm just going to run some red liner tape. I'm going to put one going across the middle. I'm just going to do this in strips going across, just so it gives it something to grip hold of. And we're just going to come and do this bit across here. Okay, and then I'm just going to do another 2 in the middle. I think that will be enough. I will be adding glue as well, just to doubly check to make sure that it does stick properly. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh, that's it. Cut that off. Right, where's my lovely pokey tool? So I'm just going to take this tape off. Here we go. Just take this off. All right, I've got 2 more to go. So this page comes together quite nicely actually, and I really like it because you can put as much or as little on it in terms of the pages and that, bearing in mind you know, your weight and everything else on there, but it does take quite a few photos. Oh, we got our squeaky glue back again tonight. Squeaky, squeaky. And come across. Like I said, it does give us a little bit of wiggle. All right. And I'm going to turn this over. Now, I've got my score line there for the hinge. So I'm coming the right hand side of that. I'm actually going to stand up for this one, just so that I can make sure I get it. So I'm aiming for about 1/8 of an inch all the way round. Let's come in on that corner. That looks fairly straight. That's it. Sometimes you have to stand up for these things. Right, okay, and we're on. Lovely jubbly. Okay, now we've got that part in, we need to add in our other pages that we've got, that we've already scored. So I'm going to add red liner tape to each piece of those, where we've got the 1/2 inch score line. So we're just going to add red liner on that one, and we're going to do the same on this one. Right. Okay, let's get those a burnish. All right, and so this is how it's folding. So it's coming back on itself like that. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either, well, depending on which way you fold your strip, I suppose, you can either stick it so it just sits on directly like that, which I find can be a little bit fiddly. So I switch it over and I turn it around on the other side so it's like that. And I have it so that that will then tuck in and I can see, and it butts it up right against that other score line, like so. Okay, so I'm just folding these how I want these to go before we glue them on, because I can give them a good crease while they're not on the page. Right, let's just do that one. And the same for this one. I'm going to fold it so that the red liner tape's on the inside. Okay, and then that's going to come over like so. It doesn't matter which way you do it. It's just, I personally find it easier to have it so it's on there, and then I can just tuck that straight in and I can see where that score line is, where that needs to go. So I'm going to take the red liner tape off. Here we go. And yes, I'm going to add a little bit more wiggly glue, like so. There we are. And now I just need to tuck that in, line it up with the other one, making sure that the pages are the same top and bottom. And now I can just press that down. And how simple was that? That was fairly straightforward. And then we're going to do exactly the same on this one. Okay, but we're going to turn it around because we need, oh no, there it is. Come round on that side. I need to fold that back on itself. There we go. All right, I'll take the red liner tape off. Add a little bit of glue. Come on, glue. I am using bookbinding glue because this is really for you know, constructing the page. So I do like to have a stronger glue for that. Right, I'm just going to line that up, making sure that the top and the bottom that even. Right, and there we are. And that, would you believe it, are our pages in. Voila. So now, as you can see, we've got our lovely concertina. And actually, we can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if you put one on the back, potentially 12 photos on there. Unless, of course, you don't want to have photos on every page. You might want to put some cards on there as well. So I'm just going to add these so I know which is my top and which is my bottom as well. And let's just get my other glue out for this. Now I have gone round and inked all of my edges with the distress ink, and I have gone round and faux stitched on everything. So right, now I can put this, and again allowing for that 1/4 of an inch. I think that needs to come down just a fraction. Trying to get that fairly centered. Okay, and I'm just going to add this one onto here as well. Like so. There we go. Just going to pop that on there. I like this. Life is better on the water, it says. There we are. I'll just line that on there, and now I'm going to attach that on there. And then all we've got to do for this page then is the magnets. So I'm just going to add this one on. Whoops. There we go. Right, I've got to turn this round. And again, I'm just eyeballing this really. Go. There we are. I think that will do us. That will do us good and proper. Okay, right, lovely magnets now then. So we need what did I put on our lovely thing? We need 1 set of magnets. She says attempting to get them out the drawer. So one. Oops, and they won't go back in the drawer. There we go. Right, 2 magnets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a magnet on the outside and then this one on here, so that when you open the page, you can open that one up. It just flows better that way, but it doesn't matter whichever way you do it really. So we're just going to add this magnet on, and I've got a little bit of black tape. I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck that on. Now, because I will be adding paper to this, I need to be aware that I need to leave 1/8 of an inch all the way around when the paper goes on. So I don't want to bring my magnet right up to the edge, otherwise you're going to see it. So I'm just bring that in. But I'm also wary of the fact of where that needs to come across as well. So I'm going to tuck that in on there, and that black tape just comes in under that 1/8 of an inch. And now I'm going to add this magnet onto the top. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there. And I'm just again bearing in mind where that folds over. I'm just making sure that the edges line up, and that the bit that we scored here, the 3/4 inch bit, is straight as well. So now I can pop that on there. Now I know where that's got to go on the other side. So I'm just going to stick that down, and I'm going to just attach a little bit of tape again onto that just to hold that in place until I sort out the papers to go to cover these up. There we go. All right, so we'll just try that. Accordion page done. Just need to crease that a little bit more. That's better because that's not sitting. There we go. There we are. That's a better fit. Okay. I'm quite liking the colours of this one, actually. I think the different shades of blue and that look really lovely, especially with the summer porch stuff. The colours just blend in so nicely that you can really sort of play around with all of these. Right, so let's have a look at page 16 then. So page 16 is where I've got it as photo map page, just one photo. And I've just literally cut out this page here. Well, this came out of one of the 12 by 12, so I've just cut it down a bit because I really love this design. And then the idea is that my photo map can come down that side and I can clip it with a paper, with one of my little black clips if I want to. But I just absolutely stick this on. So this is a nice straightforward page for this one. And when I was designing the album, I wanted to have it so that I had page like it for the Scotland album. I wanted to have it so that I had pages that I could just put one photo on it. So that's why I've got a couple of these throughout the album. Now I've got my hinge scoreline on the right hand side, so I need to make sure I come over here on the left. And again, I'm just going for that roughly the 1/8 of an inch black trim all the way round. There we go. I'm just going to turn that over and give that a press on the other side just to make sure that that is stuck. But there we are, and that is our page 16 done already. Okay, so when I come to put my pattern paper on, I will need to remember to do my rounded corners on there as well. I'm only going to do the outside flaps and the inside. I'm not going to bother with a little bit down the side. It's really not worth that, but just to give you a heads up what I'm planning for that one. Okay, so let's just move all these bits out the way and then we'll look to our next page. Now the next one is our flapper page. And if you haven't seen this already, this one was named, well, I designed this particular page for the Flapper album, and if you've not seen that, then I suggest you go and have a little look. But I absolutely love this one, and what I've done in the Scottish album, let's flip that over, is I've actually used postcards to decorate the outside of the flaps and then put photo mats on the inside. Okay, I thought it was just a lovely way of showcasing them, so that you've got them there. And I'll be honest, I did buy quite a few postcards in Scotland, so I wanted to sort of utilise them. So what I've done for this one is I've got my backing paper, but I've not actually I haven't cut any pattern papers for this yet, because depending on if and when I use this album, if I get postcards, then I want to be able to put those on. Okay, but first of all we need to do our little bit of scoring. So we're just going to pop this out. Now we are scoring on the 6 3/4 inch side. We're going to be scoring 1/2 inch. Okay, oh, there we go. I get that out. There's one, and number 2, and then we have number 3, and our final one, number 4. Okay, right, we're just going to clip that in place and move that out the way. All right, so here's my base page. Okay, this is my paper that I'm putting on the base page, but this won't be added until I've attached these. So I'm just going to pop that up there out the way for the moment. Whoops, I tried to pop it out there. Oh my life. Right, okay, I'm going to put red liner tape exactly where I've just done the scores. Okay, so let's just do that. I am using my lovely 9mm, and if you have been waiting for your 9mm red liner tape to come in stock, it is in the shop along with all the other widths that we do. We do 3, 6, 9, 12 and a 25mm, and you get 50 meters to a reel. Good bargain, good buy it is. I had to raid the shop the other day because, as you can imagine, I do get through this quite a bit. So I'm so glad that it's in. It's just square. You got to keep the creative juices flowing. So, and I need it. So it's a necessity. As far as I'm concerned, I need my red liner tape. Right. Okay, I'm just going to smooth these out. Make sure that that is stuck. Okay. Now, for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to fold on all of these. Oops, a daisy. Right, let's just crease that. I'm folding these back. Okay. I'm just going to do that 1, 2 and 3, and our final one is here. There we go. All right, now for this page, what we're going to do is we're going to have them so that they overlap one another on the inside. So if I just put this in the middle here, and you can see roughly, I might have to come off camera slightly, but one's going to go there, then one will go here, that one will go up there, and then we've got that one that comes off. Let me just move that over. So we end up having it coming off all four sides so that they overlap. Now, depending on which way you want to do it, you might decide that you want that one to go there, that one to come here, that one to go there, and that one to go there. It really doesn't matter so long as they follow each other around. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go with this particular style. Okay, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to stick this so it comes in just a fraction off the edge of the page into that corner. Okay, so that will make any allowances for, so that when you're flicking through the album you won't catch that. So that's going to come in just a fraction there. So again, I'm going to take off the red liner tape. I'm going to add a bit of glue. I'm just going to hold that in, and that's just going to come in just a fraction. Literally, it is just a smidgen. Okay, so now I've got that one down. I'm going to turn this round. I'm going to leave these pages where they are, and I'm going to bring this one down because this one now needs to come off here. Okay, but I need to make sure that this score line here will be covered, or that page will be covered by that page that folds over. Okay, so it gives it a nice neat finish. All right, so let's do this one. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Okay, So just bearing that in mind, I'm just coming in just a smidgen off of there, coming in. Right, I'm just going to test this. Yeah, lovely. Okay, now I'm turning it. So now I've sort of, as I'm following it around, I'm now upside down. There's the top, okay? And this one is going to come in on this side, and again it's coming in a little bit away from that score line. Okay, so again we just pop this off, but I have to make sure that I'm lining it up with this page coming over, so the top part of it. Okay, so just making sure that, just looking at what gap I've got to come down, so I'm just bringing that in, coming a fraction off the edge like so, and that's sort of straight down there. That works fine. And now finally, oh hi Jackie, welcome, another little person come to join us. And now this one, you have to check both measurements, okay? Now this is coming over, so I can tuck that edge of that page in against that fold there, just to help guide me a little bit. And then obviously I need to make sure that it comes in line with this one coming down here, or I can take that off and I can line it up over the top of that. So that's where it's got to go. So here we go. I'm just going to take this off. I'm just going to stick this one down. So I'm lining it up against where that is, making sure that I'm coming the same distance as I have from that score line, like so. Okay, so now when we look at it, so where's my top? There's my top. So I've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they are our flapper pages. Now I personally, on the original that I made, never put a magnet in here, and I haven't done on this one. But if you wanted to, that's totally up to you. You could put a magnet in just to hold maybe the top page down. So I could put, if this was going to be my top page, I could put a magnet here and on that page just to hold that in place, and then it keeps everything tucked in. I haven't done it on this one, on this particular album, but the opportunity's there if you want to do that. So now I've done that, I can now get my base page and I can now put that in on there, and that covers up most of those edges of those flaps that have been folded over. Now on this one, there is a right and a wrong way. I'm just having a look. I know you can't see, but there is some very tiny writing here. I think that says, I'm not sure if it's Manila, don't know if I pronounced that right, reef or something like that, but that's the way it needs to go in, because obviously I want to keep the writing up the right way. So here we go, and we're going to put this in, just add this glue. Here we are. You can hear how thick this cardstock is just by the sound of the glue going on. It's just such good quality. And again, you can see that I am using the back of what was the solids pack. It just utilised every bit of it. And even in the ephemera packets and stuff like that, you'll see that there is printed card as well that you can use. I'll probably end up using some of that for the little portfolios and that are going to go inside. Okay, so that is our page number 17 done, which is our flapper page. And like I said, I haven't decided what I'm doing on the front yet because I might be putting postcards on there. Okay, now side 18 and 19, what we're going to do is we're going to decorate what we can, but it's not until we put these into the actual album, the pages into the album, that we can actually finish off this page. Okay, if I show you what I mean, so in our lovely one here, so this is page 18 and this is page 19, and as you can see, the W fold goes across the two pages. Okay, so that means that we would have to attach this page to the album in order to finish it off. Okay, but what we're going to do is we'll stick the back papers on. We're going to sort out our little W and we're going to put those on as well, and then we can, when we assemble the album and put the pages in, then we can finish off that page. All right, so I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so for this one, my papers that I've chosen, let's just come here, are oh, excuse me, right, I've got my 4 little cards that are going to go on and be used as like photo mats. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck them to one side for the minute. These are 2 of the little cards that I've got, Meet Me at the Shore and Life's a Beach. Okay, and I'm going to be putting those on as well, so, but I don't need those just yet. And then these are the little ones that are going to go on the W, which we need to make, which I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. And these are the backgrounds for page 18 and 19. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these on first because we can get these out the way. All right, because that's not going to make any difference to us putting on the W on the fold like so. And as you can see, I've gone round and inked and faux stitched everything. I've faux stitched everything in this album. You don't have to if you don't want to. I know there's a couple of my friends out there who really don't like faux stitching, so I do let them off of this. Okay, all right, and we're just going to tuck that on there again, giving that an 1/8 of an inch gap all the way round. Okay, now because I've stuck that on that side, I just want to make sure that when I put this page on, I'm just going to line these pages up because I want to make sure that I do line that up as well on there, because it's going to be a double spread. So we'll just, come on glue, there we go. There we are, it's just coming out. There we are. Right, I think I've got enough on there. All right, so there's my score line. I can see where my score line is, and I'm just trying to make sure that I've got that almost identical. Now, if I've cut my papers correctly, I should be okay. And that, let's have a look, let's turn it around this side now. That's slightly up on that side, so let's bring that down just a little bit. Okay, just making sure that that is about the same sort of, right, there we go. All right, so they will be my 2 pages that will be butted together. Okay, and that will have the W fold on that. All right, let's just pop them out of the way for the moment. All right, so we're coming to our W fold bit. Now it's 2 inches by 16 inches. Okay, now I've got a couple of bits here because I've been using up scraps. Obviously, depending on what paper size you're using, if you're using a 12 by 12, then you're going to need to add an extra bit on there as well. And I think I've allocated for this about a 1/2 inch overlap on these, and I am going to use some tape to join these together. I'm not putting in any score lines yet because I want to be able to join these together to get that 16-inch strip, and I'm going to do one on that side as well. I suppose you could, if you had like the 8-inch like A4 paper and that, you could get them out of that as well, but you'll just need to add to that. And then I'm just going to overlap that. So the reason why I'm using the red liner tape is because I want it to be able to hold. Oops. Right, I'm just going to line that up straight, so that's one bit done. Okay, and then I'm just going to add the other bit on. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to attach that on there. All right, so let's just measure this now. It might be longer, but I can trim off. So that's my 12-inch ruler. So I'm just going to put a tiny little pencil mark there. So that's 12, and then I'll need another 4 inches. Yeah, this is a lot longer than I needed, but it really doesn't matter. I can, so on there, so it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, there's the edge there, and now I'm just going to cut off that last little bit. Okay. All right, now we've got that bit done. Don't need it shows. Okay, and we're going to do our scoring. So I'm just going to get our lovely scoreboard, and on here on the 16-inch side we're going to score at 4 inches, 8 inches and 12. Just got in there. That was lucky. Okay, and what I'm going to do is because I'm just going to fold that in half, and then I'm going to fold these pieces back on ourselves to give us that W fold. Let me just see how that's doing. I might need to trim off that a little bit. Let me just sharpen those points and that point. I've got a tiny little bit overlap there, so I'm just going to trim that off. This is the thing with scoreboards, isn't it? Sometimes they don't quite fold where you want them, in terms of, you know, they can either go one way or the other on the side of the bubble. So there we are. Just making sure I haven't cut through that card. No. For a minute I thought I might have done. Right, okay. So this is our W fold, okay, which will stick across the 2 pages. Now you can see where I've got the joins here, that they come in the panel part, I suppose, which is going to be covered up anyway. So I've got my little stripes. Now these are not going, oh, that they're all slightly different, and I'm going to turn them around and do it on purpose. I'm going to make sure that they're completely not in line with each other. just to sort of change it up a bit. But what you could do, if you've got a 12 by 12 sheet, you could cut a long strip and then cut them down, so you've got the pattern following all the way through, if that's something that you wanted to do. So yeah, it just sort of keeps us ticking along like that. Now I'm just having a little look. I think we've got Upside Wonders watching us, so welcome as well. So it's always good to say a little hello, and I love it as well that you guys put comments in as we're going along, because it, you know, I feel like I'm not on my own then. Right, I'm just having a quick slurp of drink. I'm on the ginger beer tonight, so do love a little ginger beer. Right, okay, so these I'm now just going to literally stick on our strip. Okay, so get my glue, and then we've got all the elements ready pretty much, apart from our photo mat cards, which we're going to do in just a moment. Okay, so I'm just going to line that up on there. There we are. Now, if you've joined us and you've not seen all the other videos of me making the album, please do pop over to our YouTube channel, because I've put all of the bits, all the other parts, the last 3 weeks are already on there. So, and you can download our, I was going to turn that one around. You can download the cutting and scoring instructions from our shop, craftywafty.co.uk. All right, I'm going to turn that one round, so that's slightly different. And you know, as I always say, whatever you've made, please, when you finished it, do pop it up onto our Facebook page, because it'd be really lovely to see what you've been making, you know, and how you've decorated your album and that, you know. So you know, we love to see all your wonderful pictures. I know some of you in the pictures on, and they just look fantastic, and we just love that. It's just really good to sort of share those, and it gives other people ideas and inspiration as well. So we're all about that in our community. We do love that. Now, I don't know if any of you saw that I put up my little Christmas planner house, that one of our design team made a Halloween one. So do pop over to our Facebook page and have a little look at that as well, because it's just fantastic. So it's just great to see how everybody does their own thing and has their own sort of style. Okay, right, so that is our W. All right, now while we've got this here, it's easier to add these on. Okay, and these are going to stick onto our panels like so, all the way across, and the fourth one, and it just makes it easier when we come to attach everything. Okay, and these are my little cards here, so I'm just going to stick these on while I've got these to hand. There we go. I'll just put these on. I'm going to tuck this one. I love this one. Meet me at the shore. Okay. And again, I'm just allowing that 1/8 of an inch black border. Now, because he's facing that way, I'm going to have him going on there. Okay. And then the other one I'm going to have at the other end. So, and then I'm going to have the other two as photo mats. So I'm just going to pop on there, like so. Okay, now then, right, so they will go on like that, and then these will be photo mats. Now she says, have I got some already done? I think so. I tend to have a little wallet of pre-cut cards already and papers to go on for my little photo mats. But I will be, one of the projects I'm going to be doing probably next year, because I've got so many other lovely goodies to show you, that I will be making a little container, a little box to house all my photo mats in, already prepped, ready to go. So I'm just using my little place photo here. So I'm just giving that a little ink and stamp. Okay, now I have been asked before where I got my little stamp. I did get it from America some years ago now, but I do know that Cool Cats Crafts do a set that have got like various other wordings and that in, like pull and push and things like that. They might have that in there. There are other companies out there as well that also do them. We did have, but I'm not sure if we've got any in stock. So I'll have to check on those. Got some stickers or a computer. You could print yourself out some. But right, okay. So I'm just going to pop these on. At the end of the day, you just go with what you've got, really. I used to have to handwrite it on when I first started, because I couldn't find it, because at that time when I started out making albums I couldn't find a stamp with it on, but I think people are catching on now, and there are some out there that even put the measurements on there as well, like 3x4 and 4x6 and that as well. So do shop around, there is options out there. Right, okay, that's that one. And then the other one. Now please notice that I've stamped these before I've stuck them on, because trust me, I have in the past stuck these on already and then stamped it and then realised I've stamped it wonky or it's not come out properly. So just a little tip there. Stamp up your papers or your white card first. I'm just using photocopier paper. But you can use card if you want, but obviously if you're making this album for somebody, you can put the photos straight on. You wouldn't need to worry about this then. Okay. Right, so what we need to do now is we're just going to turn this on its length like so, and I'm just going to measure up. Now these were, just to jog my memory, there we are, 2 inches. So I think I came up 3/4 of an inch from the side and from the bottom for them to stick onto. So as you can see here, so I've got the 3/4 of an inch mark going right along that bottom base there, so I can now see where this is going to sit, and because of my measurements here I can work out roughly what the centre is. So now please remember that when you're sticking these on, you're only sticking on part of it at the bottom. Trust me, I've gone really happy with the glue, and I've put the glue all over and then suddenly realised that I didn't need to. But yeah, so I'm just going to line those on now on the 3/4. That's near as, there we go. So that sticks that one on, and then I'm just going to work my way all the way along. So at least this is ready now to go straight onto the pages when we put the pages on together at the end. Okay, we're just lining that up. And then can you believe it? That's pages 18 and 19 almost done. Again, just put a little bit of glue on that bottom there. And again, I'm just going to line that up, making sure that I've actually put these on up the right way as well. Done that as well. Oh my goodness. Put the photo mat on upside down. It's not a great look. Right, okay, so that's going to fold underneath there just to bring that closer together. Okay, and again, just line that up. 3/4. There we are. Right, and put the other photo mat on. There we go. Just line that up in the middle. There we are. And then the final one is going to go on the end here. There we are. Oh, picked up a little bit of glue there. Right, okay. Making sure again it's coming off on our 3/4 of an inch off the edge. Now when we come to stick these down, the backs of these will get more glue on the two with the pictures on, okay? But the idea is that that will be folded and it will go on the pages like so. All right, just to give you an idea. Okay, so I'm going to pop those to one side for the minute. Okay, now our final page is page 20, which is the diagonal. All right, now let's just pop these out the way, getting in a muddle with everything now. So I've got my back page done already. That's what I'm going to be using for the background. Let's just pop that to one side, and let's pop those out of the way because we don't need those. I need to get my page, so that's side 18, side 20 and the top, and we're going to create the diagonal coming in this corner here. So as you can see, I've already prepped my patterned paper. I'll talk you through that in a moment. Just click that on there. Now, the measurements for this one, okay, for the diagonal stacked pockets, is you'll notice that I've got a half here. Now, we did a diagonal pocket on its own earlier on, this one down, and then this bit of card I'm going to cut out the other two. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that up there out the way. So what we need is for our base pocket is a 7.5 inch by 7.5 inch. So let me just measure this, because this might be this one or it might be the middle one I might be using this for. So let me just measure that. No, that's 7, so that will be the middle one. Okay, but this is 7.5 by 7.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut across this diagonally. Okay, so I'll just line that up. Okay, trying to keep it straight as I can. Whoops, and then she moves it. Right, put some pressure on that. Right, I'm going to come down and I'm going to cut right the way across. Okay, so that's my 7.5 by 7.5. Then the middle pocket was going to be 6.5 by 6.5. So using the other half of that, I'm going to cut this down to 6.5. Now I need my bigger ruler for this. Oh, there we go. Let's rub that. There we are. Because it's diagonal, it's a little bit. So 6.5. So I'm going by where the point is. Let's turn this round the right way. So that lines up there, 6.5. That's gone along like so. And I'm going to cut that along, but because it's in front, or I could take an inch off, whichever way is easiest. All right, I think I'm going to take an inch off this way. So I'm just going to line that up. Okay, so if I measure this, hopefully it should be 6.5 by 6.5. So that is 6.5 by 6.5. Okay. Now our next pocket is 5.5 by 5.5. So if we just measure this, this is actually 7. So I need to take 1.5 inches off. So I'm just going to come in on one side and do 1.5 inches. Let's turn that round. There we go. I'll just line that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Yeah, just checking that. Okay. All right. There we go. I can tuck that big ruler out the way now. All right, and now we've got our 5.5 inch. Okay, so we've got our 3 pockets. So what we need to do now is get our lovely scoreboard. Oh, goodness me. And we are going to score 1/2 inch on the 2 short sides. So 1, 2. Okay, so I'm just going to come down and do 1/2 inch. Bring that over a bit so you can see what I'm doing. 1/2 inch, come down there, turn that round, 1/2 inch, and then we're going to do the same on this one, 1/2 inch, and we're going to turn that around and do 1/2 inch. Okay, hi Madeline, welcome. Let's see, you snuck in there. Right, and then on the big one we've got 1/2 inch, and then we're going to turn that around and do 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm just going to clip that on like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run red liner tape round those score lines that we've just put in. Okay, so here we go. And I'm not too worried about the tips because they will be cut off. And like our pockets, I'll be doing a mitered pocket cut at the bottom here. So we're just going to run those along. Like so, that's one done. And then we've got the other ones. Now what will happen is that when you come to do your pattern paper, you will do these exactly the same. Who else have we got watching? We've got the Crafty Turn. Welcome, Sarah. Hope everything's good with you. Sarah came up with a lovely little tip the other evening. So thank you for that. It was about when we were doing our little cutouts of the curved slots to put the little cutout bit back in. So like I was saying earlier, we love to share tips and ideas and everything, always open to new suggestions for things. So you know, that's what it's all about, sharing the love, as we say. Oh, you've just come out of your craft room. Oh my goodness. I see you've been busy, Sarah, creating lots of lovely goodies. Oh, thank you for coming along and joining us this evening. That's really lovely. Right, okay, so here we go. Right, okay, so we've got our 3 diagonal corners. 1, 2, 3 are 3 different sizes for our stacked bit. So we're going to do exactly the same on every single one, and we're going to miter across where those score lines are, like we've done before with our pockets. We're going to treat this exactly the same. So we're going to cut in to where the crossover is, and we're going to give it a little wonky bit. Okay, so let's do that on all 3. I cut across, and we'll do a little wonky bit, and the final one here, and we're going to cut across and do a little wonky bit. I'm just going to get rid of those. Now we're going to fold back on these. Where's my lovely burnish? There we are. I'm just going to give that a good crease down. So I'm folding these over so that you've got the red liner tape on the inside there, and you'll notice that's why we do the little wonky bit, because you don't get those overlapping in that corner. Okay, I know we've got some little bat ears, as I call them, but we're going to deal with those in just a moment, so don't worry about them. Does anybody else have weird, wonderful names for things as they're crafting? Or is it just me? I do wonder at some point, you know, whether it is just me. But they do, don't they? They look like little bat wings, little ears sort of things. It's like my burnish and everything, so I don't know. Perhaps I need to get out more. Perhaps I need to get out of my craft room, Sarah. Right, okay. So now we've done those, ta-da, we're going to trim these off. All right. So I'm just going to butt my scissor blade up against that, and I'm just going to cut that off. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to come in slightly and use the edge of that as my guide, so you get it without the little bat ears. Okay, I'm going to come in and trim on there, and then we're going to trim on that one, and then our final one. Okay, whoops, it's trying to fly away. Right, okay, we're going to come in on that one, and I'm going to come in on that one, and you can see why I said don't worry about the red liner tape not going to the end, and the fact that we've cut it now, that red liner tape goes right up to the edge, which means that we'll get a good seal on putting these in. Okay, so can you believe it? This is the last page before we start putting these into our album. Okay, so let's pop this one on. So this one is going to come into the corner, and I do come in just again just a smidgen from the edge. All right, and I'm going to put the first one down. Now I always do the base first, always do the bottom one first. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to add a little bit of lovely glue all the way along there, and I'm just going to tuck that in now, because this is side 20. My score line for the hinge is on the right side. No, I don't want to talk to you, Siri. Honestly, that's the second time he's tried to interrupt this evening. Modern technology, eh? Right, okay, so that one's gone down. Okay, and now I can peel off this. Let's get rid of those out of the way. There we are. And I can just fold that up and over, like so. Now we're going to come to the next one, and this is going to sit directly on top. Okay, we're not moving them into the middle, although I suppose if you wanted to, you could do. You know, at the end of the day, our stacked triangle. But I've designed it for my pages and for my decoration that it's going to come up against the edge. All right, so again, I'm going to peel off the bottom bit. Just going to bring this along like so. I'm just going to again take that into the corner. I'm going to sit that directly on top. There we are. And now I can peel off this one and stick this one on. Oh my goodness, that's it. Try and get the tape off there, and then now that one comes in and that comes down. At this point I'll give them a little burnish. That's it. Just making sure that they're going to lie nice and flat, and then our final one is going to sit on there like so. Now, depending on which way the page goes, if the hinge was on this side, for example, I might put the pockets the other way round. Choice is yours, okay? It's just how I've sort of done it on here, but it's not to say that you can't flip the diagonal pockets going the other way if you want it to. All right. I am not precious about how you stick your pages together. At the end of the day, it's everybody's creative choice. All right, so here we go. The last little bits. Let's get rid of those out the way. I'm just going to flip that over. And there we are, and that is our diagonal stacked pockets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the papers I've already done, so let me just grab those. Now I say to you on here, I do give you the measurements for cutting the diagonal papers, but what I will just say is that, again, because of the scoring and the folding, if you're slightly out, then just trim, okay? You know, at the end of the day, you know, it's how you want your album to be. So I've designed these and cut these, so that should give me a nice straight edge going across there like so. It's a bit hard for you to see. Let me tuck that in. So we're just going to, and then these will sort of tuck in, and it will leave a little edge on there, just showing where that is, okay? But if you wanted more of an edge, you can trim that down, but basically that's where I've cut it. I will sort of faff with these, but just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. But if you need to trim yours fraction for your patterned papers, that's fine. But there we go. Right, okay, so this is my base page, which I'm going to tuck in like that, and that again, that will give me my 1/8 of an inch all the way round. So I'm going to put that in first. So let's get that glued on, and then we can talk about putting in a couple of our pages. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're not doing too badly. In fact, I think we could probably get most of our pages stuck in tonight. I'll show you how to do some. Has that got glue going on? I can't see on this paper. It's really... I think there's glue. I think there's glue on there. I'm hoping there's glue on there. Right, okay, I'm going to slide that in. Now, again, this is directional, so I'm just making sure I'm sticking it the right way up. Okay. I'll just tuck that in. That needs to go in. Lift that over that edge a little bit. Now, normally in my pockets, I do put a little bit of black tape down just to make that transition a bit easier, which I didn't do then, but you can do that before you stick that down. That's fine. Right, let me just check this one. So now when this one goes in, I want to make sure that that's going to line up against that one and pretty much the bottom one. So I might need to wiggle that just a little bit. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to stick some lovely glue on here. Now, I like these stacked pockets because you can tuck in all sorts in these, like little tickets and things like that. I've stuck in some postcards in my Scotland album, and I've used the bigger one. so you can stick in. Right, that's a good question. Do you always decorate after building the page? Yes, I do actually, Sarah. For me, I just find it's nicer to be able to cover up where we've done the folds going over. So I'll grab a page and I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. But basically, where I've folded those over, where you get the little fold, I don't know, where you get the little fold bits over, by decorating the page afterwards, it means that you can cover up those little bits. It's just personal choice, really. I mean, you could stick this on and then do, you know, put that on first and then put them on there, but it's just something that I've always done. Now I've stuck this one in, I can see that I'm slightly out and I haven't got a lot of black showing, so I am going to, that may it's just something that I've learned to do, Sarah. It's just one of those things. I'm going to trim off this. I'm going to take about an inch off of here. In fact, let me take that off the back, because hopefully then I'm just not taking an inch. I'm just going to take 1/8 of an inch off and see. This is what I was talking about with the wiggle room. I'm just wondering whether that's going to work better if I take it off, because I want that to drop down. Yeah, no, I do need to take it off the back. Okay. It's not until you start putting this together that you know, you can see whether you're going to need to tweak it or not. But, oops, that wasn't great. That moved. Right, let's line that up. Hold on to that. It's going into that corner anyway, so you're not going to necessarily see that. Right, I've just tucked that in, see if that's going to work better. Yeah, that's going to sit in much better. Right, okay, so because I've cut that, I'm just going to give that a little ink. There we go. Just going to ink there, and I'm just going to get my little faux stitch in. Sometimes you just need to make a few little adjustments. There we go. But like I said, sometimes it's just down to the folding and the scoring, you know, depending on your score board and everything. So that should line up. Right, that works now a lot better now. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to add, I can see the glue on the back of this paper, that's fine. Whoops! It's alive. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to tuck that in, up over that ridge a little bit, just making sure that that lines up with that. Okay, you know what, that's near as damn it. As my granddad would say, it's rough but it's ready, lady. Right, the final piece then. So this is going to come on here, and that's going to almost come to that very edge there. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to put that on. There we go. I'm just going to tuck that in there. And that is our stacked, actually I'm just going to take that up just a fraction, our stacked diagonal number 20. And there we are. So as you can see on this page, I've picked out the reds and the greens for a bit of contrast on that one. So let's grab our main album back, because we're going to put together some of these pages so that I can show you what needs to be done. That's it. I'll just move my glue out the way. Don't need that now. Clear the decks. Right, okay. So these are all the lovely pages that we've been doing. A little bag out. Here we go. Now, like I've said before, I don't decorate the cover until at the end. Didn't want to sort of ruin the outside until after I'd sort of decorated it and everything. Okay, so let's get our pages in. So Sarah says that Maggie from Cool Cats always says use a black pen to create a false border rather than trim. Ah, that's a good tip. You see, I might have to do that in future. Okay, right. So page 1. All right, I've already pre-decorated these, as you can see, and I'm just folding these backwards and forwards on these folds, because obviously as you go through the album, you just want to make sure that they're going to fold backwards and forwards like so. Okay, that one's going back and forwards. Okay, and now on some of these I've already put some red liner tape on. We'll just do a few of those. Right, this one and these last few I haven't. Okay, all right. So the best thing to do is turn your album round to the side. Oh, actually, before we get to that bit, what I just want to say is that obviously I've told you the order that I've done the pages in, and that's how I personally are going to put them into the album. But you can change them around, change the order around. That's what I love about this album, is that you can do that. So say, for example, I didn't want that page there, I wanted it somewhere else. I could tuck it in and put it somewhere else. It's not until you put the red liner tape on the one side that determines which way that page is going to go. Okay. And plus also your colorways of what you've been decorating. Now, if you're like me, I like to go through and sort of work out roughly what page spread I'm going to have in terms of my color designs of what I'm going to be using. All right, but you might think, oh, actually I prefer that page, I think looks really nice with, and you might want to swap it over with a different page. But you can do that at this stage, and that's why I really love, or how I've created this album and the hinge style, that you can move the pages around to follow the order that you want to put them in. Okay, they set out, because I don't want to sort of confuse anybody in terms of the way that I've put the pages in, and I will stick them in like that. But as I said, if you want to swap it around, you can absolutely do that. So I'm going to turn this round on its side. Let's just tuck these out here for the moment. Okay, so this is page 1 and side 1 and side 2. So side 1 was the vertical pocket, okay, and then on side 2 was the horizontal pocket. Now, because this is going in, it's going to come in. Here are our hinges. We've got 5. It's coming in, this whole page is coming in on this side, the left hand side of that first hinge. All right, so I have put the red liner tape on side 2, because when I fold that, that is going to stick to the hinge on that side. Okay, now if, for example, I'd stuck it on that side, I wouldn't be able to stick it on there. I'd have to stick it on the other side of the hinge. You see what I mean by not putting your red liner tape on your pages until you're ready to put them into the album. Okay, so this one is going to go on here, and it's going to go in like so. All right, and what you're aiming to do is that these are straight edges here, this is straight on here, and basically this edge here is going to butt up against that hinge, and you're going to literally when you take the red liner tape off, you're literally going to just ease it on and making sure that these edges are in line with one another. So I know for some people, when they make their albums, they do mitre corners and they have a little pocket and they try to slot it over the pocket. When I designed this album and this hinge this way, because I found that trying to slot those over, like your pockets pages over onto a hinge, was really quite awkward and you wouldn't get them in a straight line. That is why I designed this album, so that the hinge itself, it will just take that on there, and by not mitring the corners means that you've got a better grip to your page. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this red liner tape. Now you could put a little bit of glue on there if you wanted to give yourself a bit of wiggle room, but I'm just going to go for it now, and I'm just lining up so that page is hitting the bottom of where the spine is, hitting the bottom of the hinge. I've lined up the corners, or the edges rather, and I'm just going to gently lift that up until that makes contact. Once that's made contact, I can run my finger along that, and that is your first page in, and it's as simple as that. Okay, now my second page, which is side 3 and side 4. So side 3 was the landscape and side 4 is the vertical pocket with the mini folio. The red liner tape has come on this side, which means that when I add this one to the album, I'm going to drop it in on this side, and again it's going to butt up against that. Okay, so let's just pop that in. So again, I can feel it at the bottom, it's butting up against that. I've got those edges lined up and I'm just easing that in. Now that has made contact, I can rub that along like so. And that is one, so that's your sides 1, 2, 3, 4 done. Oh, it looks like I've got a bit of glue to stick in there. I'll stick that down in a minute. Obviously not stuck properly, that bit. I'll re-glue that. Okay, so side 5, okay, and side 6. So side 5 is the acetate window pocket with the horizontal pocket with the flap, which is on that side. Okay, now we're coming to the next hinge. I'm coming in on this side, so I've put the red liner tape on side 6. Okay, so I'm going to peel that off, and again I'm going to slide that in. Okay, so it's all lined up, and I'm just going to attach it like so, and now I can run my fingers down there. Okay, and just a little tip at the on a side that had a bit of a gap with the hinge on there, okay, because obviously it's slightly thicker. All right, so that's gone on there. Okay, and then side 7 and 8, so that is the curved pocket or the curved insert, and the diagonal pocket, okay, has got yeah, the diagonal, I'm just looking at my pages, make sure, yeah, and the diagonal pocket is now going to come on the other side. So I've put the red liner tape on here. So again, I'm just making sure that that sits like so. So I'm just taking that off, and again, I'm just butting that up against that bottom. The pages are in line with one another, and I just bring that up, and that holds that in place. And I can just run my fingers down that. Right, I'm now going to turn this round so I can give that a good. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it, 5, 6, 7, 8 sides done. Okay, that's as far as I got in terms of putting the red liner tape on. So my next one is going to be the gatefold, okay, and then the standard stacked pocket. And because that's coming in on that side, I'm going to put the red liner tape on here. So let's just do that. Just run that along. So you can see why you can obviously chop and change which way, where you want your pages to go. And like I've said before, just making sure that you don't add your red liner tape until you're quite happy with which side it's going to go. So that's going to sort of stick in there. So let's peel that off. I'm going to turn it round this way now, and I'm coming back the other way. Okay, so that's going to tuck down. That's it, jump that on there, that's in line. Okay, make sure that it's stuck on. Now the beauty of this design of hinge as well is that if you make a mistake, okay, and you do with your page, you've only got that one page to take out if you needed to. All right, trust me, I've done that before myself. I've accidentally put a page in where I didn't want it to go, and I've been able to reheat it with a heat gun to release the glue, and I've been able to take out that whole page. Okay.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, it's Siri again. No, thank you. Right, and because this one is going to go on this side, I'm going to put the red liner tape down there. So I just love the way that this hinge system works, because you can, as I said, you can alter it round however you wish. If one of your pages gets damaged, you don't have to take the whole album apart. You can just take out that one piece, and that does that. Okay, so let's peel off this one. Oops. I'm just going to tuck that one in. Again, I'm just butting that edge up against there, making sure they're lined up. See just how simple it is to put these pages in. Right, and that runs in there. Okay, so they're the little stacked pockets. So we had the full page pocket and the little stacked pockets. Okay, or the little mini pockets rather. And then we've got, what have we got next? We've got the horizontal pocket with the shaped flap. So this is side 13. Now this is going to go in that side. Okay, so I need to put my glue in on there. So I'm just going to, or my red liner tape rather. And yes, I am using the red liner tape because it holds it so much better. Okay. It's not going to go anywhere with this on here, right? But if you haven't got it, then you need a good strong glue. Okay, right, so we're now going to add this one on. Just can peel it off. Okay, I'm just going to turn that round. I'll just find it, whoops, find it easier to hold that. Oh, just, that's it, you get back in place there, right. Okay, I'm just going to drop that one in, like so. And having the score lines as well, you can see exactly where that hinge needs to sit. All right, so that's 14. So they're all the ones that the pages that we did the last couple of weeks. And now we're on to the ones that we've done this evening. So we've got the accordion page. So this is going to stick on that side. So I need to run the red liner tape there. I'm just going to give that a good fold backwards and forwards. Okay, that's going to tuck in on there. And then we'll get to the double page spread, which was page 18 and 19, that I can show you how to add the W fold. Okay, so just stick that on there. Okay, right, I'm just going to peel that off. like so. Let's just stick that on there. There you go. Sit down. Right, okay. Right, I'm just going to move that hinge out the way. Line that up. Making sure that's nice and level. That one goes in. Right, now I've got both pages either side. I just run my fingers on that just to make sure that that is stuck properly. That's our photo mat page, and then we've got our flapper page, which is this one. So this is coming in on this side. So again, I'm just going to fold back on that. Hinge there. I'm going to add the red liner tape on there. If you believe it, we've almost got all our pages in and done. Now, like I was saying earlier, if you are moving your pages around, just bear in mind that you need to keep pages in 18 and 19 opposite each other. Cut that in there. And we're just coming to the last bit. Just going to turn that round. Let's rest that up against there. Okay, so now I can drop that in, line that up against there, run that along like so. Okay, and then our final page, page 19, making sure that I put it in the right way. Just checking, everybody, you know what it's like this time of night, you know. And then that's going to go in like so. So there we go. So I'm just gonna, and that, I mean, how quick was that? Just putting our pages in. Didn't take, well, it took more than 2 minutes, but you know what I mean. Okay, our side 18 and 19, and then this one is just going to tuck in on our last bit here. Okay, and now we've got this bit done, we can come back to our page 18 and 19, so and bring back our little bits that we made earlier, because this is already done, and that is going to sit on there like so. And we are going to put glue on the back of our picture and just on the first panel and on the last panel and that last picture. Okay, now depending on if you've got a title to go up the top, it would depend on whereabouts, you know, whether you want to go up higher or lower. I'm going to allow myself, so it looks like I've got about 1/4 of an inch roughly coming round as a rough guide. So I'm just going to add, I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to use my bookbinding glue. I just want something a little bit stronger for this. So I'm just going to add that on this side and coming up on that first card. Okay, and I'm just going to hold that and drop that down. So I said about 1/4 of an inch. Right, I'm just going to hold that in place for a second. Like so. That's it, and I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to put glue on this side. And that, would you believe it, is our album pretty much done in terms of assembly and making our pages. So next week we'll be doing the little folios that are going to go inside our album and finishing off touches and doing the front of the album, doing the decoration and stuff like that. So I'm just going to bring that over and drop that down. If you're a little unsure about doing this, you can use a ruler, okay, to get it sort of straight. I'll be honest, I'm doing this by eye. Right, the moment of truth is when we fold it up. Look at that. Ta-da! Lovely. And there we have it. That is our holiday memory album almost finished. So let's just go through and have a little look. So I've picked red here, and I've picked out the red on there. So I've got lots of ephemera bits and pieces that I will be using to decorate with, and obviously putting all the little folios and stuff in there as well. I've gone with a nice sort of blue palette coming across there. This one I've changed it up a little bit. There is some blue in there and some blue here, but I've got the green, so I might put some green on this side. And then here is the magnetic one, so it's a little pocket, and I've used the green because I picked up the green that was in with the boat. That's our little curved pocket slot. Then we've got our little diagonal one there, the blue one. Now I've still yet to decorate my little magnetic closures, but when you open the pages up, you'll see, or the doors, you'll see the blue will sort of link in with that, and I've done it as like a little picture frame. So let's just tuck that one back on there for a minute so I don't lose that. Then I've got my stacked pockets, and again I've picked up with the blue with the seagulls. This one I've used these really lovely flowers, and I've got the little butterflies, so again the colours come across like so. And this is the shaped pocket, so that opens up with the flap, rather the shaped flap over the horizontal pocket. Then we've got some blues here again. Then you've got the accordion page, which I need to put all the little photo mats in. And then this one I've just got the plain blue page, but like I said earlier with the flapper page, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to put on those yet, whether it'll be postcards or not. And then page 18 and 19 across. So I've used the blue, and I've picked up the cream from the creamy sort of colour in the stripes. And then our final one here is where I've done the back pocket in the green. So as you can see, I've picked up the green and that all the way through there. And that is that, she says. I just need to re-stick that page down there. It's not glued properly. But that is almost our album done. So thank you so much for watching tonight. If you've got any further questions, please pop them onto either the comments or the website. Thank you for that, Sarah. My little W fold, I love that. Yeah, please do pop any questions, which will be doing all the portfolios, doing the covers, and all the little extra little fiddly bits and pieces that need to be done. And then that album is done and ready to go. And then after that, I'm going to give you a week off, everybody. All right, a week off to catch up, because after that week, we've got Halloween, and I've got a couple of lovely little ideas that I'm working on at the moment for Halloween, and then we're going to launch into Christmas big time. Okay, I'm not going to tell you yet. You're going to have to keep a lookout for those on our Facebook page. All right, but that's me done for tonight. So thanks for watching. Take care. Have a lovely, wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.